India Today's persistent coverage on the Ukraine war on D824 continues. I'm Nabila Jamal. First up, Russia continuing to rain missiles on Ukrainian cities on 24th day of this invasion. The UN estimates nearly 6.5 million people have been displaced in Ukraine and over 3.2 million have fled the country. The city of Kharkiv has faced heavy damage due to repeated bombing. Fire rages on in residential buildings as rescue teams in action trying to evacuate people from buildings. Mariupol has seen heavy shelling and the city is currently in ruins. Charred residential buildings, destroyed commercial establishments in the city paint quite a devastating picture. In fact, 130 people have so far been rescued from debris of Mariupol theatre that was bombed on Russian. In fact, it was bombed by Russian troops. Many still feared trapped in rubble. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Ministry has released a video that shows a group of fighter helicopters firing at an airfield in a bid to capture the airfield. Another top Russian military commander killed in war, Lieutenant General Andrei, commander of the 8th Combined Arms Army of the Southern Military District of the Russian Armed Forces during a battle at Chernobyivka in Kherson, has now been killed.
І я хочу, щоб мене зараз почули всі, почули особливо в Москві. Настав час зустрічатись, час говорити, настав час відновлювати територіальну цілісність і справедливість для України. Інакше втрати Росії будуть такими, що вам не вистачить і кількох поколінь, щоб піднятися.
Today is 19th March and we are in the fourth week of this war between Russia and Ukraine and we see no signs of this war coming to an end. We've been hearing of talks, we have been hearing of bombardments, shellings of civilian areas, every kind of humanitarian disaster we have heard of, but this war seems to be continuing and it's fourth week now. I'm here in Kyiv in the Independence Square. I would just like to show you around how this city looks like, the center of the city in the fourth week of war. Everywhere it's quiet, there are no people around, it's like a totally deserted city, and this is what Kyiv is in the fourth week of war.
Now, as Russia steps up its offensive over Ukraine, missiles and rockets rain on Ukrainian cities. But Ukraine shows immense resilience as Russia is still unable to capture a single Ukrainian city so far. Here's more on that.
This is the extent of the damage after parts of a Russian missile fell on a residential building in the northern part of Ukrainian capital Kyiv. At least one person was killed and 4 injured.
See, the missile hit our building. All apartments are totally destroyed. I don't know where I'm going to live now, where I'm going to work. I don't know to carry on living. And who is going to help me?
The emergency services said that they had rescued 12 people and evacuated another 98 from the 5-story building.
The missile fell. It fell down and there was nothing left of the apartment. I'm barely alive myself. Yes, I'm from that building. I guess I will no longer live there. A bomb arrived in the morning. Some kind of a rocket. I don't know. A projectile. I've heard it just because I live here, behind a school. So I just came here to have a look and offer my help if needed.
More than 3 weeks since Vladimir Putin launched an invasion, Ukraine is still standing and Russian forces have not captured a single big city. But Russia continues its offensive. 4 missiles hit an aircraft maintenance facility in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv, destroying its buildings. Ukraine's military says the facility was struck by cruise missiles launched from the direction of the Black Sea.
по місту Львову. Це ще раз підтверджує.
Enemy's strike against the city of Lviv is another proof that it does not fight Ukrainian troops. It fights population, children, women, refugees. There is nothing sacred for them. In Mariupol, a city that has been under relentless Russian attack, this is what remains of the theatre that was bombed. The theatre was serving as a bomb shelter. Since the start of the invasion, over 24 days ago, Russian troops have taken heavy losses while blasting residential areas to rubble and sending more than 3 million refugees fleeing. Moscow denies it is targeting civilians in what it calls a special operation to disarm its neighbor. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, the fierce fight over closing skies continues as Ukraine appeals to close skies. West now turns a blind eye to this no-fly zone request made by Ukraine. Russia, however, has closed the skies over Donbas. Here's more on that.
To create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people. Is this too much to ask?
An impassioned plea to close Ukraine's skies against Russia and a bid to boost its air defense. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has run from pillar to post in the global corridors of power, beseeching governments to close their skies to Russian aircraft. For the Russian president too, the sky is where he draws the limit. On Friday, Russia imposed a no-fly zone over Ukraine's Donbas region, a move that cuts off access to Donbas's skies to the entire world. Zelensky has repeatedly called on countries to take action. The president urged the US Congress to close the sky over Ukraine to save the lives of millions.
We are asking for a reply, for an answer to this terror from the whole world. Is this a lot to ask for? To create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people. Is this too much to ask? Humanitarian no-fly zone. Something that that Russia would not be able to terrorize our free cities.
Biden has so far approved $13.6 billion in military and financial support, but not the military jets and no-fly zone. Ukraine also pleaded for Canada's help to close the sky in an address to the House of Commons. Zelensky asked parliamentarians to imagine how life would be if Russian bombs were falling on Canadian cities.
We are not asking for much. We are asking for real support, which will help us to prevail, to defend our life of all the world. Justin, all friends, Ukraine, all friends of truth. You understand how important it is for us to protect our sky from these missiles and from Russian aircrafts.
The same warning has been repeated to NATO to act against Russia.
And now, I repeat again, if you do not close our skies, it is only a matter of time before Russian missiles fall on our territory, on the territory of NATO, and on the homes of citizens of NATO countries. American journalist Ben Renaud was killed today in Kyiv region. His colleague is injured. It was a deliberate attack by Russian military. They knew what they were doing, but not everyone in the West seems to know what they are doing.
Imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine would mean directly stepping into the war. Will the US and NATO be willing to extend help beyond humanitarian and financial aid? Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine trade charges accusing each other of genocide. Under global pressure, Russia plays victim here, alleges that war crime by Ukraine in the Donetsk region. Putin also accusing the West of doublespeak. Here's more on that.
A day after Ukraine and its allies accused Vladimir Putin of war crimes, Russia is hurling the same charge at Kyiv. Russia is calling a missile attack by Ukraine on breakaway region Donetsk a war crime. Moscow claims the Tochka-U missile fired by Ukrainian forces landed in a residential area, killing 20 people. Earlier, Russian forces had destroyed a theatre in Mariupol, sheltering hundreds of civilians. The attack sparked global outrage. Kyiv accused Moscow of genocide.
I think he is a war criminal.
The series of charges and counter-charges continue. The Russian foreign minister has claimed the US has created several biological laboratories across countries, including Ukraine.
Those laboratories have been created by the United States all over the world, more than 300 laboratories in various countries, many of them on the perimeter of the Russian Federation and the former Soviet republics, including Ukraine. Ukraine is probably the biggest project for the Pentagon.
Russia has threatened to target any cargo moving into Ukrainian territory, which they might believe are biological weapons.
Any cargo moving into Ukrainian territory, which we would believe is carrying weapons, would be a fair game. I mean, this is clear, because we are implementing the operation, the goal of which is to remove any threat to the Russian Federation coming from the Ukrainian soil.
Moscow is demanding security guarantees that will be common for Russia, Ukraine, and all of Europe as part of a compromise. With Russia changing goalposts, an early breakthrough in talks looks unlikely. Bureau Report, India Today.